I call Jonathan Young.
Sir, I'm very pleased to stand in support of the drug and alcohol testing of community-based offenders and Bailees legislation bill here in its first reading. I would say that this is a bill that New Zealanders would say is needful and common sense and seeks to strengthen and support the good work that the corrections are doing in our communities. Sir, there has been much debate over the years regarding the activities and behaviours of people on bail and the fact that they can, while they're on bail, continue to perpetrate crime. And certainly, sir, the same could be said of community-based offenders. What this bill does, it seeks to enable the Department of Corrections and the New Zealand Police to require community-based offenders and Bailees who are subject to conditions prohibiting the use of drugs or alcohol to undergo drug and alcohol testing. Common sense, sir, you would think. In many regards, having a condition that would bring to these activities to the attention of those Bailees and those community-based offenders to say that you should not do it but have no testing regime to support that means that that condition really can't be enforced very effectively. And sir, in many regards it makes some of those conditions not effective. So the reason why some offenders and Bailees will have conditions placed upon them is because drugs and or alcohol were significant in contributing to their law breaking in the first instance. And therefore, if we are serious about reducing recidivism, that is repeat offending, we have to address one of the significant causes for such reoffending, that is alcohol and drug use. Drug and alcohol use is a major driver of crime. Corrections report to us that 2/3 of New Zealand prisoners have substance abuse problems, and more than 50% of crime is committed by people under the influence of drugs and alcohol. So what happens when somebody gets under the influence of drugs or alcohol is that their self-discipline starts to break down, their judgment becomes impaired. Issues that might be below the surface come to the top of the surface. Frustration, anger, bad decisions, thoughtlessness, selfishness, anger, all of these start to surface and become drivers in a person's personality and in their actions. 50% of people who commit crime while under the influence of drugs or alcohol. This is a significant problem that we face here in New Zealand. And by tackling this issue, we can contribute to people leading an offence-free life once they leave prison or complete their community sentence. Sir, as a party, our goals are clear and they are direct. We want to introduce drug and alcohol testing where being drug and alcohol free is a condition of bail, home detention or other community sentences to help ensure that conditions are being met. It's important, sir, in a society based on the rule of law to ensure that our laws can be properly administered and monitored and obeyed. Many of these people, in fact, if not many, sir, all of these people end up on community-based sentences or in prison and coming out on bail because they break the law of this land. And so we need to not only help them while they are under detention, under supervision of corrections, to not do that, but we want to assist them in a life change. And so, sir, having alcohol and drug testing to those people who have that alcohol or drug-free status as part of their condition of bail seems to be a very logical and a very sensible thing to do. So where offenders are back in our communities, we want to support them to stay away from the driver of crime that they have faced in the past and also keep our communities safe. It seems, sir, nonsensical that we would insist on this while they are under the supervision of corrections, yet when they leave that supervision, that they have no support in our communities. I know that there are great organisations out there that do support these people. So this bill also supports National's Better Public Services goal, which is to see a reduction in offending by 25% by 2017. Those are very noble and aspirational goals, some may say, yet we are nearly halfway there, sir, in achieving this, simply because corrections are applying great effort and intelligence to the issues that cause people to offend. And, sir, much of this, of course, is around addiction, and the fact that people who have alcoholism or a drug addiction have their lives impaired in all sorts of different ways, with the outcome, sir, as I said before, that they are perpetuating crime. So what will this mean is that if we see this reduction of 25% of offending, reduction of 25% by 2017, that will mean 4,600 fewer offenders returning to prison and 18,500 fewer victims. What a fantastic result that will be when we see that. And so it takes measures like this to ensure that we can achieve those goals. We can't just sit on our chuffs and hope. We can't just cross our fingers and hope that we'll get to this goal and that society will improve. We have to put measures in place, and that requires legislation that will change things, that will bring greater accountability, but also greater support to those people who struggle with these addictions around alcohol and drugs. Sir, at the moment, the police and corrections staff are trying to ensure offenders and bailees comply with drug and alcohol conditions, but they are limited in what they can do. Current legislation doesn't give them clear authority to test offenders or bailees. So what this bill does is it clarifies that and gives them that authority. This bill is a legislative mandate for alcohol and drug testing of eligible offenders and bailees. So I want to read a quote from The Guardian newspaper in the UK on the topic of treatment of prisoners' alcoholism. It says this, and if I can read this quote: "But tackling prisoners' drink problems would have a hugely beneficial impact on recidivism, reducing crime rates and easing the burden on our overcrowded prisons." In evidence to the Commission, the Chief Constable of Northamptonshire Police, Adrian Lee, said the impact of alcohol crime on police is huge, and described the possibility of inmates leaving prison dry as a great window of opportunity to catch them sober and offer the help and the support they need. Sir, imagine that if this were to happen in New Zealand and we were to see a former prison population who could deal with their alcoholism and substance abuse, and those, sir, who are on community-based sentences, who had alcohol and drug problems, if they could become free of that. So how much would we save in our corrections facilities? How much would we take the pressure off our police force? How many families would be bettered? How many kids wouldn't suffer the effect of domestic violence? All of these things, sir, are important if we want to see a better and a healthier society, and, sir, if we want to see the taxpayers' investments made for positive change to build and uplift our society. I'm very happy, sir, to commend this bill to the House. Yes.